Computer. Hello, we are joined this morning with 2006 past state president for the Women's Council of Realtors, Florida, Susanna Madden. Thank you so much for being here today. Wanted to give you an opportunity to give us a brief opening statement about yourself as a way of an introduction.
Happy to do so. First of all, Lorianne, I want to say thank you for doing this. We all learn from each other. And I love the title of this, Building on Yesterday, Shaping Tomorrow. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. One of my favorite quotes is by Sir Isaac Newton, and he had said, I have seen further because I stood on the backs of giants. Well, that doesn't mean that we're giants, but anyone can learn from other people who are the giants, making us all see further. And then just a little bit about me. I have a broker's license. I'm not the broker of my company. I don't want to be. I just did it for the education. I'll tell you about designations because to me they're important. I have 19 of them from NAR. They're designations and a few of them are certifications. But now that includes the C2X, Committed to Excellence from NAR. That's not a designation, but boy, do I promote that. Now, Rory Dubin has 25. I've only got 19.
Okay.
Rory is big in WCR and Women's Council and CRS and CRB and Florida Realtors. So he's got me beat there. But so he and I laugh about it every now and then. I served locally this year. I've been on many committees. At my association, I serve on grievance. I taught code of ethics at my association for over 20 years. And for Florida Realtors, I am a Hall of Fame member for RPAC. I'm a strong proponent of RPAC. In fact, this year, I became a double Hall of Fame member.
Oh.
And I graduated from Florida Leadership Academy and also NAR, National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. And I might mention that again later if I get an opportunity to squeeze it in, because I believe in those.
I love it.
Okay.
So as a past state president of the Women's Council of Realtors in Florida, what major contributions did you make to the organization during your tenure?
Well, we had fun that year. 2006 was a great year. We also did many educational classes. Helen Hayes, excuse me. I'm sorry. Helen Hayes is an old-time actress, and she had said, resting is rusting. And I always liked that statement. I always said, oh, I can do the work of 5 people. Well, now time has passed and I'm older and I'm down to 2 people. But the thing is, I had a lot of energy and that was important. And then enthusiasm, as we all know, sells. My team radiated with it. And we talked about the LTG, Leadership Training Graduate Classes. We missed that. That's where we got so much leadership training. The LTG, to get it, I'm so sorry. Tickled my throat.
No worries.
To get it, you had to do a whole bunch of, series of things. And then they had 9 available classes, but you were required to take 4. Well, I ended up taking all 9 of them just because they were so good. And even my then husband, who is now my real estate partner, I mean, not now, but still, he has been for a very long time. I made him get his LTG, Leadership Training Graduate, and then we both subsequently got our PMN, Performance Management Network. Well, that year we gave away those classes, PMN and LTG scholarships. We got so many sponsors to assist us financially, but we always made sure they knew that they were very important and appreciated.
Love it. So were there any significant initiatives? I mean, you mentioned some of these already, but if you want to elaborate more that you launched during your presidency, and which do you believe has had the most lasting impact in our state in terms of success?
Okay. Well, I would not call this initiatives, but I am going to say we had a dream team. All of us are still visible today. We're very close-knit, no infighting. We never did have any. So we believe we're a good example to everyone else, all the other members. We always had each other's back. each other six, we would say, and we called each other our wingman, or we changed the word to wingy. And we never once had a harsh word. And we're hoping that continues to set a good example. Today, we're in a group text. We encourage each other often. We have sleepovers, get togethers. And again, we're thinking, and we hope this sets a good example because it comes very naturally to us. We all have to remember that these are volunteer positions. And even though they are indeed serious, we can't take ourselves too seriously. We don't make executive decisions or give executive orders. This isn't about the President of the United States. We always had team decisions. You notice I'm talking a lot about team because that's what I consider a good, call it contribution, but that was from all of us. We all had a servant's heart, just like you do, Lorianne, and like so many of our members do. We always wanted to assist, learn, teach, and pull others up. It's really great that we honor our past presidents our current presidents when they walk into the room. Every organization in Florida Realtors could take a lesson from that. Keep in mind that can be a heady experience, but just remember, this is just for 1 year of volunteerism. We didn't cure cancer or Alzheimer's.
Right. So true. So, I mean, I guess you touched on it a little bit about the way that you collaborated with your team, but how would you describe your leadership style and how do you think it differed from maybe some of your predecessors?
Probably so. I loved the leadership style of my predecessors. They're all so good. Three of them are gone now, and they were my mentors. Barbara, Sue, Dory, they're gone, but we still have the other active ones. All my mentors. And I suppose regarding style, I was maybe a little bit more relaxed. Our team was scared to have too much of a sense of humor because we were intimidated. For an example, I love finance and budget. And when we would go to that meeting, or even also to our general membership meeting and board of directors, we were so focused. We were on pins and needles to make sure our paperwork was perfect. The team would stay up until 2 a.m. together to find a $2 discrepancy because we were scared if there were mistakes, we wouldn't make it through the next interview.
Right.
So I am a strong proponent as we go up the ladder that we reach out and help others up. I did it with my association when I was president and also when I was Florida State president of CRS. But I learned that philosophy from Women's Council of Realtors. At a Women's Council event, the current president, Ann Ogello, said to me, I'm going to make you, and I was new, didn't have a position. She said, I'm going to make you chair of Ways and Means. That will give you exposure. I didn't even know what that meant, but I was told that my goal was to bring in, whatever, maybe $4,000 or $5,000. And so, okay, I did find out I know how to delegate because I got the best helpers, and we ended up netting that year $22,000. And I've never forgotten Ann Ogello, how she helped pull me up that ladder.
Wow, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, what types of challenges did you face during your presidency in Florida, and how did you address them?
Well, I can't say my team had any challenges, but here's the deal. I told you I'm on a group text with them. So I even texted them and I said, is there something that went on that I don't remember that we had challenges about? And they all answered back, no, we were just having such a good time. And I don't mean it was fun, but a good time in enjoying our time in office. We didn't have the challenges. I will say we had a SWAT team that would go out to the various networks that were having issues. Somebody was being hard to get along with, or their budget wasn't balancing, or something like that. So we saw that occasionally, but it wasn't a big deal. I had a team of brainiacs. Sherry Meadows was my president-elect. CJ, I call her CJ, it's Cynthia Schaefer. I was her president-elect. Then we had Rosemary, Sharon, and then Marie. Now, Marie Avery Withers, she and I still, when we greet each other at conventions, which we do so often, we still refer to each other as Madam President. But we say it with a laugh, and we
Right.
start laughing because we
Okay.
aren't anymore. But that's just showing, respect for each other. And then we also had Anna Maria, who is not a member of the organization anymore, but we still do get together, all of us, and relive our memories. And then one more thing makes me think of, speaking of challenges, my very dear friend, Mary McCall, she was president of our board and then became Florida State President of CRS, Certified Residential Specialist, and then national president of CRS. She told me forever ago, years ago, she said, if you're going to be president in a good economic year. And, we laugh about that. Well, guess what? 2006 was a really good economic year. The affiliates and my team of pals raised $48,000 just for my installation. So yes, that was a good year. Enter 2007. My president-elect Sherry Meadows coming up, and guess what? The bottom fell out of the market. I always felt bad about that. But then look and see what a great leader Sherry was. She always was, but look, that just made her stronger. So she was not only subsequently president of Florida Women's Council, but president of Florida Realtors. And she came within a hair's breadth of being our president of National Association of Realtors.
Wow. So, what was your vision for the future of the council within the state then? And how have you seen it play out in terms of influencing our current programs, policies, and priorities?
Okay. Well, my vision or greatest wish was to bring back the LTG classes, leadership training graduate. Didn't happen, but that's okay. We one of my favorite things was visiting all of the districts. There are 13 districts, but 2 were kind of like conjoined with their district meetings. So I loved going and speaking at all of them throughout the state and getting to know everyone and talk about Women's Council. My then husband, Andy Polk, he's now gone to heaven, but I was blessed that he was an entertainer, singer, songwriter, musician, guitar. And he went with me to every single district meeting throughout the state, and he sang a patriotic song before I began my talk. So I always called him my opening act.
Wow.
Gave a final talk at our GMM General Membership in Orlando, and when I did that, I had Andy set up. He got up after I did my final talk, and he had the full music behind him and everything, and he sang a song, dedicated it to all our members, but in particular to my team. And the song is by Josh Groban, and it is "You Raise Me Up." Well, it brought tears to everyone's eyes, but it made it so very memorable. Words, "You raise me up, I can stand on mountains, I can walk on stormy seas, I am strong when I am on your shoulders." And there you go back to my beginning quote, "When I have seen further because I have stood on the backs of others. So I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be." And that's one of the beautiful things about Women's Council.
Love it. So, mentorship plays a big role in leadership. What impact do you believe your mentorship has had on the council's members in Florida, fostering growth and development?
Okay. Well, we all learn from each other's mistakes because we don't live long enough to make them all ourselves. So one of my greatest honors, not only as a president, but mainly after, was getting phone calls from various members throughout the state asking for my advice or assistance, something going on in their network. And that makes a person feel viable and still needed. Now, I still get some of those calls, of course, not as many because I was president a long time ago, but I still get some, and that's a beautiful thing. So just as my predecessors mentored and currently mentor me, I still do so. and am readily available if anyone calls for assistance.
Love it. So, could you discuss any advocacy campaigns that maybe you spearheaded during your presidency in Florida, and what was the goal and was it achieved?
Okay, I wouldn't say it's really an advocacy campaign, but back when I was selling and listing so much more than I am now, I was visible as president and coming up the line as president. And vendors come to you and they ask for your business. That's what they do. That's what they should do. Well, my standard line to them was, which I advocated to other Women's Council members to do the same. My standard line was, well, are you a member of Women's Council of Realtors? And if they said no, my standard answer was, I'm sorry, I only do business with people in Women's Council. So that goal, a lot of them joined right then. So that goal was achieved. Now, since you used the word advocacy, and I'm giving that answer for advocacy, I'll state that I am very passionate about RPAC, Realtor Political Action Committee. I'm very proud that Women's Council supports RPAC, and so many of our networks have a line item in the budget for it. I'm going to point out that I am wearing blue diamond right there that's from Women's Council, showing participation in RPAC. And yeah, I'm a very strong advocate of that.
Fantastic. What key lessons do you think current members in Florida can learn from both the successes and the setbacks that you've experienced?
Okay, well, this is a big memory, important memory to me. When I first interviewed, now we do it differently now, but you had to go through nominating committee. But this is important, an important lesson. So when I first interviewed, it would be everybody who's interviewing all sitting out lined up in the hallway, waiting for their interviews. And so when I first did it, there were 5 of us running for the same position of treasurer. So one by one, they were called in to the room for their interview. I sat there 2 hours and I wasn't getting called. Everybody else running for treasurer and governor and DVP and all the positions. So 2 hours later, I'm still there. So finally, somebody came to the door of the nominating room and peeked out and looked at me and said, "Excuse me, may I ask what position you're running for?" I knew then I wasn't going to get chosen, but I gave it my best shot. And then my parting comment when I left the room was, well, I hope you choose me, but no matter who you choose, you can't go wrong. I did not get chosen that year. It wasn't my time. So the next year, I got in, like 5 of us again interviewing, but I made it. And then also back then, I think I mentioned that you had to be governor and district vice president before you were president. So I had those positions too. So just so you know what it was like sitting out in that hallway, everyone is nervous, waiting to be called. Every year, I wore a brand new suit, new shoes, pantyhose. And this is what we did. I mean, that's what it was like. So to touch on again, when everyone we have, stands up when the president walks in the room, that can be a heady feeling. We can't let it go to our heads. I will say that other organizations to which many of us belong, and Florida Realtors, they could take a lesson from how we treat our presidents with respect. But if you don't make it, consider running again the next year, whatever the position is, as I did, running with 4 others yet again for treasurer. And remember, not everyone can be president. All the positions are important, no matter what they are. But we all work for the members, and that's one thing to keep in mind.
So valuable. How would your earlier experiences at the local level within Florida shape your approach to statewide campaigns?
I started out as newsletter editor. I didn't even know what Women's Council really was, but they asked me to do the newsletter because it's kind of my forte. And okay, yeah, I'll do that. So I did, and started going to we call them meetings again. We call them more programs now, but started going to the meetings. And I got hooked on the professionalism, the protocols, the use of the mic, and the handling of Robert's rules. Forever ago in our local network, we used to have color of the day. And so whatever color was passed around in the newsletter to where everybody wore blue or red or yellow or green or whatever. We all did that. And then we'd have hat day where we all wore hats. Well, we were referred by a lot of general realtors as ladies who lunch. I didn't start it. National Women's Council National started, but they began having required types of educational programs, no more hat days, etc. Slowly, we began to be thought of as an organization with good educational programs. So my goal was to make sure programs included things like inviting the mayor to speak, or all the mayoral candidates, or somebody to talk on financing, etc.
Awesome. Awesome. So looking back over your journey from the local involvement to state leadership, what key lessons would you say current members can learn from your experiences?
I love this question because, again, that's how we all learn from each other. So I would say start saving for your installation. If you're moving up the ladder, get donations, have fundraisers, have an automatic line item in your budget. Get your CRS designation, Certified Residential Specialist. Many of us have it. CRS tells their members to join Women's Council. And when I send out a referral, I always try to look for somebody who's a member of both. Another thing, serve on Florida Realtor committees. And don't say FR, it's Florida Realtors. That's important. Apply to Leadership Academy. If you do make it and you get all the way through that, apply for NAR, National Association Leadership Academy. They were the best experiences of my life, other than my time in Women's Council. If you don't make it, try again. The class of Florida Leadership Academy I was in was 2008. That was the very first one. You know who was in my class? Gia Arvin.
Wow.
And she's now our president. I didn't know her. We didn't know her, and she's now our president of Florida Realtors. And then in my NAR Leadership Academy class, there were 26 of us from all around the state, all around the nation, including one from Alaska and one from Puerto Rico. And some of them had not made it their first time, but they came back and tried again. In my NAR Leadership Academy class, out of that class of 26, 2 of them have made it to NAR. That's 1.5 million they represent. NAR president. And one of them is Christine Hansen, who will be our NAR president next year. On the local level, I'd say take a lesson from state. Consider having past presidents luncheons. And when I say luncheons or programs with the past presidents, inviting them all, introduce them at every function. They gave up a lot of their life for others. So make sure you introduce them. That honors them. Last week in Orlando, I went to the past president's luncheon, state president's luncheon at the convention in Orlando. It was so great to see everyone. People were asking us questions about our experiences, and there was a lot of laughter. But a key issue is, and you're asking me for advice, is to invest in RPAC, and all of our members should do that. It is for our profession. And you will not hear me say the real estate industry or the real estate business. I will always call it the real estate profession, because that's what it is, and it helps to elevate us in the eyes of ourselves and also the public.
Fantastic. So any sage words, as we kind of close out our time here together, any sage words of wisdom, if I knew then what I know now type of moments would you love to share with our members?
You got 3 hours? Okay, well, I've learned so much. And I always credit Women's Council with things I know about leadership. In fact, I published my autobiography a couple years ago, three years ago. It's a hardbound all color book. It's 330 pages of my autobiography. It's called Number Two Daughter. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But the thing is, I talk a lot in that about Women's Council. It's called Number Two Daughter, by the way, because I am the second of three girls in my family. But again, I'm preaching Women's Council any chance I get in the book. When the nominating committee called me to run for president-elect of my association, well, it was a medical association, but we have 30,000 members now, greater, and Tampa Realtors. But we didn't then. We didn't have that many, but we were still a mega board. Well, I told him, no, thank you. I didn't feel like I was qualified. I ended up thinking about it all night, thinking, I gotta give it a shot here. Why not give it a shot? So I called him back. I called the chair back the next day and said, yes, I'd like to run. My opponent was more experienced than I am. He's more qualified, and he had already held some positions on the board. But I did put to use things I learned in Women's Council. I got over my insecurities of being president of a board, and I went at it full force. The affiliates, boy, were they helping me, and I will never forget them. And I ended up by winning using the skills from Women's Council.
Wow.
I got involved, and I'm saying get involved with Florida Realtors. I've chaired many committees now with Florida Realtors, and then CRS, Certified Residential Specialist. I became the Florida president. I think I mentioned of that, but it's all, again, back to attributing to Women's Council. One of the best things I was told when I started up the ladder for Women's Council, if you're going to be in a leadership position, you're in a fishbowl. That's the first time I had ever heard that. We must all remember to stand tall and look proud and don't be a grumpy face, because people are watching and pointing you out, and to other people and saying, hey, she's the such. I remember somebody pointing somebody out to me, leaning over and saying, she's the president of Women's Council. I mean, they were like in awe. So yeah, it's image. It's talking about image. That's not a bad thing. And I will say that every president wants to leave a good legacy, whether it's just that they were a good president or they did some positive things, made some positive changes. Now, our team, as I mentioned before, we joked a lot. And sometimes when somebody would ask any one of us, well, how is your year going on the state line? Or how was your year when you were president? Well, we loved saying something like, well, I didn't get arrested and didn't go to prison, so I guess I did okay.
That's great.
So the thing is, I believe I did leave a good legacy, and I will forever thank Women's Council of Realtors.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity to share these, just these little pearls of wisdom and these gems for all of our members. This has been such a joy and a pleasure to get to know you better, and cannot thank you enough for your time today.
The pleasure is all mine. And if you don't mind, I happen to love quotes. And if you don't mind, I'd just like to leave one more. And I think it was Warren Buffett who said this. You may have heard it, but it's important here. And that is that somebody is sitting in the shade today because of what someone did yesterday. So, I mean, that's you, Lori. I mean, you're doing this to maybe our members can benefit from it. And so someone is it'll be said, someone is sitting in the shade today because of what somebody did yesterday. So thank you for this opportunity. It's been fun.
I can't thank you enough. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care.
Take care.